I got my home insurance renewal, and I noticed it went up a little bit. By a little bit, 37% that it went up. And so I'm like looking at it some more to see, well, is my house worth a lot more now? And I looked, and they're showing an increase of 7.8% to the value of it, or to what it would take to rebuild it if everything were destroyed and they had to take it apart and then rebuild it. So while it's 7.8% more in value, 37% increase in the amount of the bill that I have to pay to have home insurance. That's what's going on in the world right now. Uh, and I don't live in Florida. Florida, you've got home insurance companies that are just getting entirely out of the state because they just can't afford to pay for all the hurricanes and everything going on. And probably California has the same thing going on with fire, or they have to pay a lot more for insurance for fire protection. I don't know. I'm not from California, so I don't know. But Florida, I do know that Florida's been pulling, the insurance companies have been pulling out of Florida and it's just simply not covering houses there. Amazing what's going on now. And, it's not that I live in Tornado Alley or anything like that. I live in Illinois near Chicago, and we do get our tornadoes. In fact, in the past 5 years, we have had two tornadoes hit my house. One of them, I got a new roof out of it. And so I guess I'm paying for the roof now, with the higher premiums. Um, and then last year, we had another one that took out three pine trees and a red maple tree, but no damage to the house at all, fortunately. But I did have to pay to have those trees removed from the property. Just so insurance companies, I mean, they don't like taking a loss on things, but it got me to thinking about something. Like we actually had a big wind here the other day, and I just sat when it was going on and just watched it. I got out of the way of where there might have been a problem if there was broken glass or anything like that. But I wasn't afraid of the tornado at all. And, so screw you, tornadoes. I'm not afraid of you. And I think it's because if I die, I die, and, my life now, as a paraplegic is not a great one, as far as being able to do the things I used to love and enjoy doing, like walking my dog and seeing my family, going places. It just, if I died, I can't think of, I don't know, I just don't fear it as much anymore as I used to. It's like I mean, there are some things I was never really afraid of. I wasn't even afraid of gun nuts. Um, my, you know, maybe because I have a black belt in karate. But what's that going to do against a gun? You're going to win with a gun over a black belt on that. But I wasn't afraid of people. I wasn't afraid of things like that. Right now, I'm not afraid of getting a heart attack. I'm not afraid of cancer. If cancer takes me, it takes me. And I probably wouldn't even fight it. And if it happened, uh, it, because being a paraplegic is just not fun at all. I mean, I do find things I can do, and I'm not depressed. I'm, I still enjoy things. I enjoy, eating candy and ice cream, binging TV shows, reading, talking, interacting with people, doing things like that. So I don't think I'm depressed. It's just that I'm just not scared of death. But that doesn't mean, I mean, and there's stuff that I can do. I mean, even as a paraplegic, I still work. I could retire, and I could be done with work, but it still mentally stimulates me, gives me a reason to get up earlier in the morning, and I do a good job. I'm very good at my job. I'm very proud of the job that I do on things. So, it's one of those things that there are things that are good. I mean, working from home. I never thought that our employers would allow that, but COVID actually made that possible. So maybe that was something good. Other things that I do, I still write. And I've written I've had 3 books published in the last 6 months. I didn't write them all in the last 6 months. I wrote one in the last 6 months. Two of them were ones um, that I just published after having them sit in my laptop for a long time, and I thought it was time to bring them out into the world. So, and the other thing is I'm here mentally for my kids and my dog, my wife. I'm here still. So maybe I can't go out and do things for them, but if they need my help, they need to bounce something off me, they just need to talk. Anything, I'm here. And that's an important thing, in any family relationship at all. But there are things that I do fear though, and the number one fear I have, it's kind of a weird one, is I'm afraid of hurting my shoulders. I'm afraid of hurting my arms, because as a paraplegic, I can get around. I can get in and out of my bed using my arms. I can move my wheelchair, but if my arm goes, and I can't do that, I'm lost. I would have to have help doing everything, and I don't need that help right now. So that stopped me from doing workouts on my arms. I used to do weights and things, and I had shoulder surgery a few years before this happened to me, and I was told that another surgery might be a possibility for me in the future. So I just don't mess around with weights or anything like that. But I do have muscles in my biceps that aren't much smaller than they were, when I was just doing my swimming, before this happened to me. So moving around on a wheelchair tends to be a workout in itself, especially if you're going on carpet. Um, you know, part of my house is still carpeted, and moving a wheelchair on carpet is kind of a nice workout on things. So my arms are in good shape. My hands suck. I've lost a lot of ability with my hands on things, but if I were to be afraid of anything, losing my arms would be very top of the list, right next to going blind. And that's something. My eyesight is good now. I'm farsighted in one eye, nearsighted in the other. That's kind of like when I was ambidextrous. I could go left-handed, right-handed. I can do nearsighted. I can do farsighted. As you see, I'm not wearing glasses right now. I can see pretty well. I actually have to take my glasses. When I was wearing glasses, I would actually have to take them off to read things because my close-up vision was very good. And if I wanted to watch TV from a distance, then I'd want to have my glasses. But from this kind of distance, I just don't need them. So I haven't had my glasses on since December. So it's been what, a third of a year, quarter of a year now since I have had my glasses on. But eye issues run in my family. My sister had eye issues. My mom has eye issues, and so I'm afraid that I would lose my eyesight if I lose that. Again, that's my freedom, and the freedom is the one thing I do not want to lose, and that's the thing that I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of that. Um, Another thing that I'm afraid of, getting outside of my own personal issues, would be things like my wife, if she was going out to the mailbox and slipped on black ice or something like that and got hurt and was outside and I did not know that she was outside. And if I did know, how could I get her? How could I go out and help? I couldn't go out and help her, to get off the ice. I mean, she bought these cleats that you can. She's kind of MacGyverish, and she found these rubber cleats that she could put on shoes that enables her to walk on ice better. But that still doesn't mean that she can't slip or something. So I'm afraid of that. That's something else I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of my dog getting sick and needing to be carried and picked up and taken to the vet. That's 65 pounds that I can't handle. There's no way I could do it now. So if something happens with him, I don't know what I'm going to do about it. So I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid if my kids need something from me. There's at one point, one of our daughters had a fire in her apartment building, and she called at about 2 in the morning, telling us there's a fire, and I'm down there by 4, you know, for her, I dropped everything. Well, I woke up, put my clothes on, and drove down to Champaign, to deal with it and be there for her. If that happened today, I could not do it. So I'm afraid of things like that happening to happen. And then changing from, from myself, to my family, and now talk about the country. I'm very afraid of what's happening in our country, and I've talked about that in another one of my videos. Our country is becoming Russia, I think. Um, I mean, who would have thought that we would put tariffs on an island that has 0 people on it, but then not do any tariffs at all on Russia? I mean, Russia owns our president, and and I've read books like 1984 and The Jungle and Atlas Shrugged, and I'm scared of what would happen to her. I see these things. I see it happening. I see. I read about what happened in Germany before they turned totally Nazi, and the parallels between that country and our country are astonishing and very scary. So I'm very afraid that in my lifetime we're going to be living in a country that's like Russia or like North Korea, where we're not allowed to have freedoms or anything, and scary, very scary stuff. So I have some fears, and I thought I would express them today and get it out of my system. Talking about this, probably helps me mentally and helps me, avoid that depression I talked about earlier. So I'm going to talk about my books for a little bit now. I wanted to show a couple different ones. This one here, uh, this is Bonkin Heads, and this is a cover that I drew this cover, back when I was still able to move my arms around. So I drew, here, get over there. There you go. I drew the cover, and this was an earlier cover that I had. If you get Bonkin Heads now, it's got a totally different cover. You may recognize that cover, that drawing is the same one that I used for Cave Mannerisms. And it's got the same characters in it, but Bonkin Heads is the one that I told you that I feel that the Croods was very, very suspiciously similar to the book, with all the characters and the stories and everything were just so close. Another book I would want to show you is this one here. This is one. The Illinois Mechanic Lien Statutes and Other Construction Stuff. So I'm not just a writer of comedy, but I also write some legal stuff on things, and that's a breakdown of the Illinois Mechanic Lien law, section by section, and then a lot of other stuff, and I make fun of attorneys and have a lot of fun of it. That was published by National Association of Credit Management in 2016. Another book, Mooned. This one won an award. It's a young adult book about a dog and a cat that are turned into werehumans by their werewolf master. When he turned into a werewolf, he forgot to lock him up. So when he turned into a werewolf in the living room, they went to go check it out, and he bit them, and then he goes running out the door, and then they turned into werehumans. So that one was a great deal of fun to write, and really enjoyed that one there, and that one won an award, like I said. Another book that I had, I've shown you this one. This is Conundrum. Conundrum is a kidnapping book written in the Great Depression of 2008, which I'm afraid we're going to have a Great Depression. So when I was going through this, I was thinking, wow, hope we don't do that again. 2008 was not good at all. And then the last book I'll show you for today is The Shadow. And that's a book about a boy who goes to watch an eclipse, and during the eclipse, or after the eclipse, when the eclipse leaves, he gets separated from his shadow, and his shadow comes to life, and the kids start bullying him because he has no shadow. They think he's a demon or something like that. So that's a fun young adult book. The book for Conundrum was for adults. The book for Bonkin Heads could be adults or either or. Mooned is young adults. So I kind of go back and forth, young adult and adult. If it's got to have, and all of them have pretty much immaturity in there because that's kind of me. But anyway, thank you for letting me talk about my books. Thanks for letting me vent about my feelings and my fears and everything else that's going through me. And I hope I'm wrong about all that. I hope that democracy saves itself. And I hope that I pray that my wife, doesn't get hurt, and my dog, I just want to be there for my family. So here I am. I'm there for them. I'm there for you. If anyone ever wants to contact me, there's actually a contact page on www.normcowie.com, COWIE. So come check me out there, and thank you for letting me talk and vent and get this out of my system. Thank you. Take care.